Hello and welcome to Cultivating Home. That's cool. So which one do you guys think you want to do this month? So today I wanted to talk to you guys about homeschooling, but more specifically, planning a homeschool unit. So what we do is we use the Gather Round curriculum by Rebecca Spooner. She is also the author of the blog and YouTube channel Homeschool On. Now, I found Rebecca early in my homeschool journey. So this is going to be our 6th year homeschooling. So I found her probably about 4 to 5 years ago, and I loved her. I loved her personality. I loved the reviews that she did and the advice that she gave and her overall outlook on homeschooling. But what really resonated with me with Rebecca was the fact that I feel like we're on the same wavelength. The things that she would say didn't work for her with certain curriculum were also the things that didn't work for me for those same reasons. And so she very quickly became somebody that I looked to for advice. If something didn't work for her, it most likely wouldn't work for me. And so I listened to her a lot, I watched her a lot, and I really learned a lot from her. And a few years ago, I think last year, she came out with her own curriculum, and it's called the Gather Round Homeschool. And what her curriculum is they are monthly units, and each unit has a theme. So it may be like we've done so far. We've done North American birds, we've done space, we've done government. I can't even remember which other ones we did. We started this at the end of last year. So for instance, if the unit is space, you're not just studying science, because her units include several subjects. They include handwriting, they include geography, they include social studies, they include history, they include handwriting. They pretty much, and they'll include science. And so they pretty much include everything except for math. Now, math, we'll talk about math a little bit later on, and I'll tell you what we use for math. One of the things that I found to be really difficult was planning their lessons. I have 3 boys, and they are all on different grade levels. I have a high school junior, I have a 7th grader, and I have a 4th grader. And so they're not even close enough in age where I could have them kind of working at the same level or come up with one lesson that they could all do. That does not work for me. So I would have to plan 3 separate lesson plans for each of them. And while I tried to keep it basically on the same subject, it was a lot of work. And it was a lot of time that I didn't have. I did not have hours and hours and hours a week to research and develop lesson plans that I knew were going to be challenging and effective for my kids. So when I saw Rebecca's units, I was immediately intrigued because I loved the idea of thematic units. My sister is a teacher, and she had been doing thematic units last year, and I really loved the concept. But by that time, we were already neck deep in our current curriculum that we were doing, and I didn't have time to even thinking about making those changes. However, when I saw Gather Round, I was like, you know what? I need to try that. So the way it works is each unit has a teacher's guide. And then you pick the child's workbook based on their grade level or skill level. So they have everything. I believe she has everything from pre-reader through high school. So right now we work with the upper elementary, the middle school, and if my high schooler is doing the unit with us, he'll obviously use the high school workbook. He does most of his courses online. He is doing a dual enrollment program with our local community college so that he can start earning his college credits now during his junior and his senior year. And so he mostly only does electives at home for the most part. He does his music with the local youth philharmonic. He does his Greek lessons online with Rosetta Stone and things like that. So he, for the most part, is not included when I talk about a lot of this lesson planning that I'm doing. This is mostly for the 2 younger boys. So we tried out Rebecca's units and I loved them. I loved them because they were simple enough to use on the days that I didn't have time to plan out full-blown lessons. And they were complex enough in the sense that it gave me an excellent backbone to build off of. So what I love about homeschooling is I love coming up with science projects and art crafts and doing the fun stuff, the fun parts of homeschooling. And I wasn't able to do that when I was being so totally consumed by having to create lesson plans from the ground up. So Rebecca's units gave me that flexibility. So when we go through a unit, if I see that there's a topic that we're studying that I think the kids would really enjoy spending a little bit more time on, I expand on that topic and I find other extension activities and I find videos that they can watch on them, and we do projects on them, and I just find a bunch of different other things to add on so I can make it as complex or as simple as I want. And the other things that maybe they're not so interested in, or things that maybe we've studied already in the past, I can spend a little bit less time on those. Now, each unit has 20 lessons, and that takes us roughly about 1 month to get through. Sometimes it's a little bit longer if we spend more time on an area, and sometimes it's a little bit shorter if it's, like I said, something we've either covered or we don't need to spend a ton of time on. Sometimes we'll do more than 1 lesson a day. And so I love these lessons so much. I really, really love these units. The boys had even made a comment last year when we first started them. They said, "Oh, Mom, you really are enjoying these lessons, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I actually am. Why do you say that?" And they said, "Well, you just seem like you're having a lot of fun teaching us this stuff." And I was like, wow, that's what it's supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be me going crazy trying to make sure they're completing all of the things that are in the workbook and following these lesson plans and doing all this stuff that they didn't really need. I felt like I was almost mimicking public school again by just having them memorize random facts, and that's what some of the other curriculums that we used did. And so I don't want to name any of the curriculums that I liked, that I didn't like, because every family has different needs, and what didn't work for me may be the absolute best fit for you, and what works for you may not work for me. For me, my goals with our homeschooling is I want to keep them challenged, I want them to be engaged, and I want to fan the flame of their love of learning. I want them to be excited about learning. And so I feel like Gather Round has really allowed us to do that. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I plan a Gather Round unit. So this morning I gave the boys 3 options to choose from on what they wanted to study now that we're resuming classes in January. So we're done with Christmas break. It is the 4th of January, and we're thinking about what we're going to do when we start class next week. So I gave them 3 options, and the one that they decided they wanted to do this month was Asia. And I'm kind of excited about that because, like I said, it's fun to plan. When you've got the bones there, at least for me, when I have the bones of the unit, when I have all the things that I know that they have to cover, I have all the hard work done for me, then it makes it really fun for me to fill in the gaps and just add a lot of fun things to our unit. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to create book lists both for their independent reading and our read alouds. I'm going to find some movies on different Asian themes that we'll be covering in the unit. I'm going to find some recipes so that we can bake some different foods from various cultures. I'm going to find prizes that correlate with our theme that I put in their treasure box, some arts and crafts, just some very simple things. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And I just want you to see how simple it is to plan and use these Gather Round units. So let's go. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my teacher's guide for the Asia unit, and I'm going to go to the beginning where Rebecca always includes reading lists. And they go from pre-reader all the way through high school, and there's even a supplemental books and field guides list. And the first thing I do is I go to these lists and I write down all the titles that sound interesting. Sometimes I'll look up what, the synopsis of the book or some of the reviews to just double check maybe what the content is like for the younger kids. And I write down the titles that I want for either their independent reading or for our read alouds. We are a big read aloud family. We have read books together literally from the time my boys were infants and long before we embarked on our homeschool journey. Reading has always been one of my favorite times with the kids. We always read aloud every single day during our homeschool year. So it's usually the first thing we do after prayers are done in the morning and breakfast is done and cleaned up. I will make a pot of tea and we head to either the living room where we just sit on the couch and listen to, they'll listen to me read, or if it's a beautiful day, we'll take it onto the porch or the deck and we'll read outside. Sometimes I'll bring little snacks, but we always read for at least a half an hour. And so we get through quite a few books a year. And so I love finding titles that go along with our theme for that month. So I'll write those down, and then what I'll do is I'll get online and I'll check to see what our local library has available, and I'll check out any books that they have. If there's a title that they don't have that I really want to read or I think will be especially beneficial for the kids, then sometimes I'll download it to my Kindle, or I'll see if Amazon has a cheap copy available. I try to utilize our local library as much as possible. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna get my book list ready, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I finished my book list, and a few of the ones that I chose, I didn't write down some of the authors, so if you're interested in these, you'll have to look them up or message me and I'll let you know who the author is. But I chose Peach Haven, The Year of the Panda, Write Your Own Haiku, The One and Only Ivan, which I know is huge and that is not a new book, but we have never read it, so I really would like to read that one. Paper Wishes, Sylvia and Aki, which I've actually read before, basically about the Japanese internment camps, and so I really wanted to read that with them. We read it together a few years ago, and then we had sushi and stuff that night for dinner, and so that was really fun. So I was thinking of maybe doing something like that again. Ishitar's Odyssey, I Rode a Horse of Milk White Jade, and then I put a little note here for me. There's a movie called The Dropbox, and it's based on the Asian adoption process, which has always fascinated me. And so that's a movie, and so I would like the kids to see it, but I'm not sure if the content is a little too heavy for them, so I'm gonna watch that myself, and then if it's good, then we'll definitely watch it together. And then just some little like supplements, some extras, a book for kids about pandas, all about Japan, Japanese cooking made simple, and the Torchlighter series on Gladys Aylward. I love the Torchlighter series. Every movie that we've seen from them is fantastic. And so we'll definitely be watching that one. And then you may notice there's a little bit more Japanese things here than maybe some of the other Asian countries, but that's because my kids all love Japanese culture. They just are really interested in Japanese culture. My oldest son actually started learning Japanese on his own several years ago, and he can actually read Japanese and can write many of the characters. And so it was just kind of cool. I just thought that would be fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get back online, go on Amazon, and try to find some fun little extras. So I'm just going to see what I can find, and I will add them to my cart and get them for this unit. So I found some super cool things on Amazon. I found some rice paper and Japanese brush pens for them to practice calligraphy and writing, you know, Asian characters. I thought that would be really fun. And I also found these little squishy toys. They're by the Kawaii Company, which is a Japanese brand. And so they're kind of like little stress balls, but they're shaped like different animals and things like that. So I'm going to put those in the prize box. I thought those would be fun. And then I found a really cool basket of Japanese candy, and I thought that would be fun. It has like 20 some pieces of just all kinds, like a variety of different Japanese candies, which I thought was cool. I found some puzzle erasers shaped like sushi and rice rolls and things like that. So I ordered a few of those. And then I also remembered that I had a couple of resources that we used a few years ago, and we used some of them a few years ago. So I think we may do them again. The first one is I really want to reread Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. I love Grace Lin. I've met her in person several times. I've heard her speak, and we've read this book. It was several years ago, so I don't know if my youngest one even remembers it, but this is such a fantastic book. And so I'm going to ask them if they want to read this again. It's got beautiful, I don't know if you can see, just fun little illustrations throughout. Of course, oh, there's one. But yeah, so, and she does all the illustrating herself as well. And so I just love her books. And so I would really like to read this one over again. And then The Year of the Dog. This is another really, really fun book by Grace Lin. I love the story. And so we'll definitely be reading this one out loud. And then I also remembered this book, Celebrate Chinese New Year. And so this is just a fun little book. It's by National Geographic Kids. It has all kinds of just fun cultural facts and tidbits, and it has some great photos. It also has some recipes in the back. I think there's one for fortune cookies. And so hopefully we'll get to try those out. I would love to try to bake fortune cookies just for fun. And then I also remember that I had these little red envelopes. Now these red envelopes are traditional gifts on Chinese New Year, which is actually in February this year. And so it's going to, this unit will probably run us into the first week or so of February. So it's perfect timing. So at the end of the unit, we're going to do this little Chinese New Year celebration. I think traditionally money is given in these little envelopes. I don't know if my kids are getting money because it ain't a holiday for us. So I may just put $1 in there, or I don't know, we'll see. I have to think about it. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do next is I am going to get on a website called Teachers Pay Teachers, and I'm going to see if there are any extension activities that I can pull from their site. So I'll go through the lesson plan in my Gather Round Teacher's Guide, and I'll see exactly what we'll be studying for each lesson, and I'll see what I need to expand on if there's anything. If not, then I am honestly good to go. I am literally done planning for the entire month. So I'll just touch real quick on math because I said that I would mention our math. So math is not included in the Gather Round units. And I'm actually grateful for that because, first of all, I hate math. Like, I despise math. Hate it. I literally had nightmares for about a year after I graduated high school that I had math homework due that I didn't do. So I hate math. I am an English, literature, history person, even science I enjoy, but anyway, you get the point. So what we use for math is teaching textbooks, and it is an online program. You have the option of having the hard copy book. And so, yeah, we love teaching textbooks math. I know a lot of people that use Singapore and Saxon, and there are so many other math programs out there. So you really have to go with what fits. But this just works out well for us because the program teaches them each math concept, and they do practice questions, they review, they do their homework, they have quizzes, they have tests. I get in there, I look at all their grades. If anything, normally what I do is if they get anything below an 80, I delete the whole thing and I make them do the lesson over. And that seems to keep them on track with math. So yeah, I'm super excited about this unit. And I hope you guys go check out Rebecca and Gather Round. This is not sponsored in any way. I paid full price for all my stuff. This is just me sharing with you something that I love and that, maybe could help you in your homeschool journey. 2020 brought a lot of surprises, and a lot of people found themselves homeschooling who maybe had never had plans to homeschool. And so if you're kind of in that place where you're not sure what to do and it feels overwhelming, then I would definitely recommend checking her out because I feel like it will take the overwhelm out of your scenario very easily and give you something that is going to further your child's education in a simple and fun way. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.